So this is part 3 of my intro to FSS, a standard FS desktop version of a visual pinball table. Now this time, the last time we did the Photoshop work for the backglass, and now we're going to integrate that and change some parameters to allow for the placement of a black backglass in a table. So we'll load our Simpsons table here and have a look at what it looks like before we go in and change it. So what you'll see is the table will be floating in the middle of the screen, and that's only because I don't have the frame of the visual pinball is not full screen, so it sets it inside the available space. So that's what it looks like right now, and there's the DMD, and that'll be no longer there and integrated into the table. So let's go and start doing this work. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to modify the backdrop settings. So the apply night day cycle thing is active, so we don't need to do that. So now we're going to enable the FSS part, and this is I think the only way you can do it. You have to click test desktop, then click FSS mode, then test desktop again. Yes, you have to take it off and then click it back on, or what happens is when you do this selection full single screen, sometimes it gives all kinds of junk or corrupted values here, and the only way to undo that is to exit out of the backdrop, come back into the backdrop, re-click these in the right order to get it to work. So anyway, I'm just warning you. So basically you unclick test desktop, press the FSS, then click back test desktop, then enable full single screen. So let's start with the inclination. The inclination will vary between 55 degrees and 60. That's the typical values. And the field of view, I usually keep to 45. My layback is negative 40. X, Y, nothing. The scale I don't touch. Here I usually start with between 60 and 100 units, and then I set this to negative. At least a good start is minus 600, negative 600. And so until you start seeing these little peaks, the closest part of the table start sticking out the sides. That's what you want. So now we've done this. That's the basics. We tweak it later. We tweak it in the end after we put in the backglass. Next part is to adjust all of the table settings. So I usually put everything maximum, quality on. This is on right now. Sometimes it's not. So I would click use the slider instead of default and put it at maximum, which is already at. Then I turn on the reflection on the ball. I turn on a trail motion. I leave that usually whatever the standard setting is. Here, sometimes the slider is not checked. So I check it, and then I enable night day cycle thing. I usually don't touch anything here. The reflection, I usually sometimes bring it up to 35, 40. And then the ball reflection, I set by default to 10 and 1, but this value will change over time when I get tweaked. Then I do the lighting. The lighting I do myself with the use of flashers. So I set that back to white, and I do my own, I adjust the colors myself. So I put 8 million there, 7,000 here for light height. And I just copy paste the light emission scale for the light range, and then we'll bring down the emission scale. I usually have it around 2, the AO to 3, 4 sometimes, and 0.5 is a good start for bloom strength. That'll probably be adjusted in the tweaks. So that's it there. We have that. Let's have a look at the table before we go in and modify it. Excuse me. Then now it'll be, no, actually, No, I'm not done yet. Hold on a second. We'll import some textures. So we'll go Image Manager. So basically, you're going to open that archive. You're going to import some textures here. So your color grade stuff. You might as well do them all right now. I use these system, they sort of utility textures. They're used in various areas of the of my work. Default flash to GL flare, even though I don't use it that much. I don't need the default stern grill because I'll be using the one we produced in the textures. So here we're going to, since it's a stern table, we're going to use their typical chrome frame. I need that glow trance. There it is, default glow trance. I need that, and might as well import the chrome rails, which is again typical of stern tables of late. And we'll just say open for that for now, and then just import one more thing, and that's the high dynamic range. So I type ANV so I don't have to look for it, and import that, even though I do know that it's already there. So actually I'll delete that. Let me just check that, make sure that they are the same. Yeah, they seem the same. I'll just delete the one I just brought in, so it's already in there. But normally you would, sometimes you will, I use it because I prefer the how it distributes the light, and chrome type elements are shiny enough. I don't like some of these other high dynamic range where they're just excessively chromy, and but then they look pixelated, and I don't like that. And I also use these color grades textures. These are the ones that I found that I prefer the most. They make the colors very, very punchy. They look more real when lit, and some other ones that I've tried, that colors look completely washed out and grayed out. I don't like them. These are the only ones that I found in my setup. I don't know who made them. Whoever did a great job, and so they're very useful. So anyway, we'll just shorten some of these file. Well, I like the long file names, the more descriptive, but I don't like them to be very long in the editor. So I shorten them up. I usually just go default. I get rid of all the spaces, and then some words I shorten them up. B-box instead of backbox. So glow trance, gives rid of quite a number of letters, and they are easier to see. Just like in here, right? If I didn't pull this over, I can't even see the full name of the word. So I shorten everything up. Now we can see the words. Let's just do that. One more to go. And there's that. And they also fit better in the text boxes in the application. So see, now I can see almost all the words without having to do anything extra. Oh, they got a Simpsons background. Cool. That'll show up in our after we do some lighting adjustments. Okay, so there we are. So let's put the environment emission image in, and that's the NTT2. I don't know who made this again. Sorry. For the author of that texture, I really don't know where I got it. It was early on when I started, and I just really didn't record where I obtained it from. And then we're going to go on the backdrop, and we're going to change the color grading to 8. So it's the lightest, not the darkest. It's the opposite of the darkest, the lightest colored texture. And so when 1 would be very dark and 8 is the least. But like I said, it gives very punchy colors, and I really like that. It's very useful especially when I'm dealing with the day and night transition. The colors really show up really nice. So okay, so now we're going to have a look at what the table looks like. That's obviously going to be extremely dark. And that's what I expected. This is what the result I get all the time for every table I've ever made. And now we're going to start modifying this table to, first of all, bring in some light into this table. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to start setting some flashers. I'm just going to get the height here of the rail. So the rail side is 283. So I just keep that in mind. So insert flasher there. Now I already set this to my default. Use the set as default option in the menu. So everything is set up already, including height and inclination. So it was 283. So let's change it to 283 right away. And so I'll make 3 copies of this later on, and so they'll all be set. So let's scale this up. I usually set it to 10 and drag it over on top of directly on top of the table. And in this case, and this is rare, the table is actually, oh no, is it? Wait a minute, let me check. Oh no, it's not. It is wider. Okay, no, that's normal then. I thought it was not as wide, but it is wider. So let's drag this out to here to fit the size of the table. Doesn't have to match exactly, but just overlap the rails left and right. And there we go. So let's make a copy of this. Control C and drag that. Oops, it didn't copy. Hold on a second. Oh, that's because I copied it, but I didn't paste it. Okay, hold on. I should turn off some of these layers because that's what's causing this drag. Okay, there we go. Now let's drag. There we go. All right, so Control C, Control V. That helps, eh? And I'm going to change this texture to the verticals. What I mean here is not the vertical lines, but the vertical transition. So what this is going to do is once I stretch this texture out to here, and I stretch it to the entire length of the table, and I overlay this one back on top. So you can see this one is on the top of at the farthest end of the table, the deepest end of the table, and the other one stretches the full length. What this does is it darkens the outer edges of the table, this full length one, and this one, yes, it does a transition between this texture, light texture, and this. Well, this is like an area light. You know what I mean? I don't use point lights. I find authors use a lot of point lights to generate this kind of lighting. I prefer area lights. I find they produce better lighting, and they have just more flexibility. In general, you can do anything with them. Anyway, this gradation will cause the elimination of a line that would be generated if it was the opposite. I could show it to you, but I mean, there's no point. This will eliminate any kind of tear in the light, rendering of the light. And so it just makes a smooth transition, and also generates this gray area generates shadows in the back of the table, and also makes it brighter in the back of the table where the back glass is going to be here, and so it produces light, and so it lights up this deep end of the table. So the first thing I'm going to do is give this a tungsten type color. So I use this value here, and I bring it up a little bit. I say OK, and I'm going to bring this down to 20%, the opacity. Then I'm going to set this one also a tungsten type color, and that's the result. When it renders, it gives it that impression. And these values all stay the same. So additive blend, 100, 100, 0, 1, depth bias 0, and modulate 1, visible display, blah, blah, blah. That's my usual typical setup for flashers. So now I'm going to actually clone this one. And this one, I'm going to give it blue, which is more environment light that would come from, let's say, an exterior source, or not from the outside. environment. I mean, you know, you could be in a place where you have, the pinball table could be beside a glass, and just beside is the outside, and so it would produce this blue light. So I give the table some blue coloring. You'll see the result when we're done. So let's just try and see what we get as a result here, because there may be adjustments before we move on. So it's getting a little brighter. Let's turn on the table, see what... Oh, I have no money. It's fake money again. Now you can see how it's a little too high here, or the inclination is wrong on those flashers. So that will be all tweaked later on. You can see the glows are a little too strong. We're going to control the glows, and obviously there's going to be an issue because obviously his head is above the flashers, and also the top of the head of Homer. So we're going to need to fix that for sure. Anyway, we're going to almost leave that at that for now. Actually, we're going to drive this up back. I dropped it down, the opacity to 80% on the blue flasher, and so I'm just going to put it back to 100. Let's see what we get. This is all going to be adjusted later, all going to be tweaked later on. So it generates a little bit more light. Remember, we're at the darkest setting in our day-night setting. So I'm gonna drop the bloom just to fix that right away. I'm actually going to drop this to 0.1. And that affects the global bloom. See how that rear flasher generated the light at the back, also lights up the rails. That's better. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, so we're going to leave that at that. And now we're going to start doing the backglass. I'm going to save this, Control S, and we're going to move on to what we had worked on before, which was the backglass texture. So we're going to import those images. We're going to, yeah, that is supposed to be grill. I called it frame because I was talking about frame and I wrote frame, but it's actually grill. All right. So we're going to import all those three. And we're going to rename them because they're too long. So it's going to be Simpsons Pinball Party Backglass Dark. My usual naming convention. I guess you'll do it whatever way you feel like doing it. And finally, the high texture. And this background. Okay, so we have these three textures now. All right. Okay, so now we're going to install. We're going to insert three new flashers. We're going to start one at a time. We're going to scale this up to 12 units, and that seems to be okay. We could shorten it just a little. We're definitely going to bring this down because when it renders, maybe that's just a little too small there. When it renders, it really stretches in the Z direction, which is this from bottom to top. It really stretches in that direction. So even though this is going to be squished in the editor, it's actually going to look pretty normal in the in-game. So we're going to copy this and just put it aside here. I'm going to call this Simpsons Pinball Party Backglass Dark. And I'm writing there. So we're going to put the dark images first. There we go. So it's backglass dark. And go and put in the other image B, and it's the same image. Okay, there we go. All right. So, and this one, since it's the back, the furthest image, and it is the albedo image, I'm going to actually make the screen. I'm going to remove the additive blend. I'm going to take amount and drop that to 50. I'm going to leave the opacity as 100, and I'm going to set the depth bias to 0.9 and then modulate to 0.9, and I'm going to bring this way down. Okay, so that's for the dark texture. Now we're going to put the highlight texture. I shouldn't have actually moved that, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to take this one, Control C, Control V, because that way I don't have to move things around. So I'm going to get that high texture in there. I'm going to call this high, and I'm going to change all the settings because it's easier to change the settings than it is to realign that image. So additive blend has to be on, additive on, this all the way to white, back up to 100, and 0 for depth bias, 1 modulate. And there we go. That's a setting for that. And this guy goes on top. And he can be anywhere. That's not an issue. So we're going to lock those textures in place. There we go. And I'm going to put that high, not the high, but it's supposed to be high 1 there. Hold on. Get the high. Take its name. And get, whoops. How come it feels like it's moving? That's weird. Yeah. Oh, okay, I know. It's because I'm changing the selection. Okay, so I'll put that 1. And okay, select it and put it in back. Draw in back. There we go. All right, so we got that there. So we've done the basics here for setting up the backglass. Now we need to import the code to put those in the right place. So finally, we're going to open up the script. We're going to go all the way down to anything underscore in it. So we're going to go to the end of that sub here. We're going to open the code. Do I have that? Tables. That's for me. It's not for you. And we're going to open that code. I should have had that open already. Come on. Okay, so we're going to go down to the core code for setting up backglass. We're going to grab all these variables. We're going to grab this chunk. We're going to grab the center graphics. And I don't think we need the other. No, we do not. We just need this. That's it. We grab that. We plug it here just after end sub on the init. That's where I usually put it. And we're going to call this function here. There we go. And we're going to just grab the first 3 letters here. Okay. So we're going to put that there, there. We have a high. We're using that. We have a high 1. We're using that. We will have a grill, but for the moment, we're going to ignore it. And we'll add a frame. We will add a DMD. We won't need any of this code, so we can actually remove that. So there we go. That's it. We're done. We'll tweak these values here. We don't know what it's going to be like. Let's just try the 600 and put this to 700. Actually, no, make this 550. And this 700. Okay. So let's save this before we do anything and just run it. F5. Oh, yeah, it was too far off. Okay. Well, you can see what's happening here. Well, it looks lit. I'm actually going to reduce the dark background to even lower, which is normal. I actually bring it quite far down, and that's why I have the extra grill image to overlay on top. You would think that that was so excessively dark that it would be kind of useless, but it's not. So yeah, it was 500. Huh. And this may be 750. And that's how you go about tweaking the table. You just, it's a long process, back and forth, back and forth. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. Now, I'm assuming this is right. I mean, I will only know when I'm able to adjust the lighting and increase. I'm actually going to bring this up because we are adding a frame, so we wouldn't see the frame here. We don't care about seeing the top of the frame, but we definitely want to see the bottom of the frame. So let's fix that. So we're going to go to 540. Oh, no, not there, sorry. 790. And we won't do anything. We know that's going to be good. So we're going to go get the dark text, the dark image, bring that to the front, and we're going to copy it. Control-C, Control-V. And then we're going to go into our image manager. We're going to import. No, we did import it already, didn't we? Yeah, we did. There it is. Yeah, okay. We're going to add the texture of the back box frame. Frame. We're going to bring this up a little bit because that would be just too dark for the frame itself. But we're going to keep all the other values, and it is a screen as well. We don't blend. And now we're going to just have to scale this. So scale, the usual is 1.1. Apply that, and it's going to be a little bigger on each side here, and too short of adjustment. So I undo this. I make this 0.99 and 1.01. So this will shrink here, actually expand here, and shrink on the sides. So there we go. Boom, boom, and that is it. And then we're going to bring it down a little. So we have to unlock it. That looks good. Yeah, it fits, and no broken edges. Okay, so we'll lock it now. So we're going to take this. We're going to rename it frame. So, okay, so we got the frame here. Now it's going to be enabled here. So bring that in. There we go. The frame is in. And we knew we dropped it a little, so the Z off, we do it -5 on the Z offset. There we go. Save that and try it. F5. See what we get. Okay, yeah, so it's a little off. It's too short here and too long on this side. So we have to bring it in by 25 points. Yeah, but it looks looking good. It's looking good. There it is, a basic FSS. We're going to do the adjustments of all the lighting in the next video, where we're going to also put the lighting in the behind the back glass. And in the next video after that, we're going to push the DMD onto the face here. It's not important. It's not a major big deal, but I just want all of those 3 different types of tables segregated into different videos. So like the DMD, the SS, and the EMs all in separate videos. So just the DMD, which is what, it's going to be a 5-minute video, just to deal with that. When I do the day and night adjustments for the tables, these will be completely integrated. They will look as though they're being lit by the same light source, whether it's internal or external. So when you go brighter, it's external influence, and when you go darker, near 0, it's more internal lighting, so very local light sources. Anyway, that's actually, I'm just going to shift over this table here, and we're going to call it quits. We're going to call it, so it's 475, which is, I see often. Oops. I have to shut it down the table. 475, which I see often. It's not the only value, but you see it often in setting things up. So I'll try it one more time, and I will add the grill. Maybe I should add the grill now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. That's part of this, so let's do it. I'm going to copy the dark again, call this grill, and we're going to import the grill texture. Grill. So no additive, and we're going to bring this up, and we're going to try this first. Actually, I need to add this. Obviously, the grill will not show up if it doesn't get shifted over. So there we go, and it's just all the same size. That's why I put these textures here, because they all have the same values essentially. So I put them there, and the software, the script software they don't get modified with this software. So we need to brighten that up. So one of the issues we do is tricks we do is raise the bias and drop the modulate. Let's try that. Sometimes it takes various effort, various tricks to get it to show up. Oh, there we go. That's good. We could bring it down a little. It seems a little intense there. So bring that to maybe 0.3. That was easy. Sometimes it's a little more difficult. Okay, that's good. All right, so that's it. It's been moved over. The distances are good on each side of the table. You can also use these as markers, the edge of the top corners, to see if it's centered right. And it looks good to me. And yeah, that's it. So this is video number 3 of how to make an FSS table out of a standard visual pinball VPX table. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you keep watching the other ones.